after me. However, I have been in direct contact with the White House, with Governor Landry, and of course a unified command who is present here. What I'm asking at this time are prayers for those who have lost their lives in the city of New Orleans due to this tragedy. In addition to that, I'm asking the public to stay clear of 8 blocks around Bourbon Street. Stay clear from Bourbon Street, 8 blocks around. Very active, and again, a unified command is in place right now. I'm going to ask Chief Kirkpatrick to give you an update. You're then going to hear from our agent in charge relative to the FBI. So at this time, Chief Kirkpatrick.
Thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to give you as much of the information I possibly can. We are going to give you an update a couple of times today. So we will give you just the basics this morning, all right? We had this event started at about 3:15. It did involve a man driving a pickup truck down Bourbon Street at a very fast pace, and it was very intentional behavior. This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. It was not a DUI situation. This is a more complex and more serious based on the information we have right now. With respect to numbers, we have right now, and as you already know, this could change throughout the day. We do know that there are 26 injured people who are at UMC Hospital. We know we have 4 at Turo, 4 at Oshner Baptist, 1 at Tulane, but even as I was walking out the door, I believe I have an unconfirmed additional people who have been taken to other area hospitals, possibly on the east side. But we will give you as many correct numbers as we can as the day progresses. It is a very tragic situation for me to tell you that we know we have 10 people that this man killed on Bourbon Street. That is why we do not want anyone on Bourbon Street today. Wherever you see yellow tape, please do not violate this tape. This is in order to protect and stabilize the scene. We have information to a certain degree of the demographics of those who are in the hospital right now. We do not know at this point how many could be tourists versus locals, but from the information I have right now, it seems the majority are locals versus tourists. What I also can tell you is that this man, this perpetrator, he fired on our officers from his vehicle when he crashed his vehicle. 2 of our officers have been shot. They are stable, and we will give you an update on them. I have yet been able to go to the hospital. I will be leaving here for us to go visit our officers. We have called in every officer that we have. We have so much appreciated our partnerships who have also offered us staff. Last night, we had over 300 officers out here. And because of the intentional mindset of this perpetrator who went around our barricades in order to conduct this, he was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did. Because of the nature and the indices that we have on the scene, and we have enough information that the FBI will be taking over this investigation. And with that, I am going to be asking, this is the assistant agent in charge. This is Agent Duncan, Special Agent Duncan, and she has taken over this case on behalf of us and the FBI. As always, we will be in partnership with all of our partners. But Agent Duncan, if you want to have a few words for everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. My name is Alethea Duncan. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge for FBI New Orleans. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we'll be taking over the investigative lead for this event. This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if this is a viable device or not. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we're asking everyone to stay away from Bourbon Street, specifically from Canal Street to St. Anne. That is my ask. Once again, stay away from Bourbon Street, Canal Street, all the way to St. Anne until we can figure out what is going on. Our goal is to provide you additional information at the 11 a.m. press conference. Thank you so much, and we will be in touch.
Yes, I will say that we want our community and our visitors to continue enjoying. There's so much to enjoy about New Orleans, and we are going to make sure that our routes in the Superdome are safe today for the game, and yet we had this tragic event, and we're sorry again to everyone in our community. But we do want you to go about the day, as we say, just stay away from Bourbon, okay?
Can you elaborate on the device? You did say something about the device.
We actually are not going to be taking questions this morning until we have more information. That's why we will give you an 11 o'clock briefing. So until then, please hold your questions. We will give you everything that we possibly can, okay? So 11 o'clock, we will see you at the headquarters, and we will go again from there, okay? No questions, no questions right now.
The device is confirmed? Thank you all. We will see you at 11 a.m.
All right, so what you just heard right there was an update from local officials in New Orleans, the mayor there speaking, the police chief speaking as well, and then also the FBI speaking as well, because they announced that they will be taking over this investigation. We learned a tremendous amount of information from that press briefing. First off, that this incident started around 3:15 in the morning in New Orleans in the French Quarter, that there was a man driving a pickup truck, and that this was very intentional behavior. The police chief there saying that this was not a DUI situation, that this person was trying to run people over, also saying that he was hell-bent on creating carnage. Another thing that we learned from that press briefing is that the man who was in this pickup truck, who allegedly, or according to police, drove down Bourbon Street trying to hit people, also fired on New Orleans police officers after, I guess it seems he crashed his car, and that 2 officers were shot by this suspect. One of the other things that came up in this press briefing was that it sounded like the FBI said there, the Assistant Special Agent in charge, that there was an improvised explosive device found, and they're checking on that. But again, as you heard at the end of that press conference, they didn't take any questions, so there was not an opportunity to clarify more about that. Let's go to our reporters and analysts who we have with us. I believe we still have Andrew McCabe and Jean Cazares. Andrew, you know, we were talking about what this may or may not have been earlier in the morning. The local officials there clearly saying that this was an intentional act.
Yeah, Denny, that's right. I thought a bit surprising to see the police chief come out that strongly. She was unequivocal that this was an intentional act. She mentioned that the perpetrator drove around their barricades in order to get to the crowd that he was apparently seeking, trying to run over. So it's interesting. And then you had the representative from the FBI, the Assistant Special Agent in charge, say that they did not believe it was a terrorist attack, or maybe they weren't ready to conclude that at this point. And I think it's important to note that there are distinctions there. You could have an intentional act that is criminal in nature by someone who's trying to hurt someone else or a group of other people that is not connected to some sort of a terrorist organization or motivated by terrorism. So there's all sorts of kind of gray area right now, despite the amount of information we got out of that very brief press conference. There's still a lot of questions to be answered. And the biggest for me right now, Danny, is do they have this individual in custody? Because if I'm correct, neither the police chief nor the FBI representative was clear about that. If he crashed the vehicle and then fired shots at police officers, you would think that he's in custody, but of course we don't know that yet. We certainly can't confirm that. But no question, they're handling this with everything they've got, and I think putting the FBI in the lead investigatively is probably the right call. They certainly have the assets and the resources necessary to sort through a massive crime scene like this.
Yeah, and Andrew, I agree. That was one of the bigger questions that I had at the end of that press conference. Is again, I agree with you. I did not hear from any of the officials there what the status is of the suspect here. Gene, one of the other fascinating things that the police chief said is that they had, as we reported, more than 300 officers in that area around the French Quarter on New Year's Eve. Just tell me, what was your takeaway from what we just heard?
I think all of the resources they had, they brought into the area, especially when this happened. I guess we do know now that it was an intentional scene, though. So this is a massive crime scene that they are processing right now as we speak. 26 were injured, is what we heard through that press conference. But what I can see is that, talking about this being a working crime scene, when they mentioned the improvised explosive devices, there appeared to be a question. They were not sure if, in fact, that's what they had that they would be looking at now, but they wanted everyone and anyone to stay away from the Bourbon Street area. So it appears as though that's their next order of business right here, to see exactly what is going on with the possibility of those devices.
Andrew, you noted it when you were just speaking a moment ago, but I just want to take another moment to focus on this. The local officials there saying not only, again, hell-bent on creating carnage, that was their words, but also that this man went around barricades. So we were discussing this earlier, that you were almost surprised that a car or a vehicle could get access to Bourbon Street, of all places, on New Year's Eve. It seems like this particular suspect, according to those local officials, went out of his way to get around any sort of barricades that were up. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, it shows you how hard it is to deter a motivated, driven attacker. And so if this is someone who, as the chief said, was hell-bent on causing carnage, you have to think of these things when you're trying to secure an event in terms of someone like that who is going to go to any length and exploit any weakness in your system, which is and your security plan, which is why I would expect that after this event has been after we're away from the crime scene and the police department has a moment to think about this, they're going to think about how adequately did they barricade that access point. If he was able to drive around it, it certainly raises some questions about whether or not that was adequately done. Again, that's an issue for another day, but you can't ever discount or take lightly what a driven, motivated, trained attacker can do. Now, we don't know anything about the attacker in this situation because we haven't heard those sorts of details yet. But, again, you're putting together a massive security plan like this to secure a large crowd in the middle of a huge event that everyone can see is coming. You've really got to think that you've got to protect that crowd from every possible attack direction and method, and I'm sure they'll go back and reassess how adequately they did that.
All right, Andrew, Gene, hold on for us for just a moment. We're going to take a quick break, but again, just to recap what we've been learning over the course of this morning, a tragic situation in New Orleans, 10 people killed, more than 30 injured after a car drove through a crowd in the early hours of New Year's Day. Local officials saying this was very intentional behavior. We'll talk more about it on the other side.
Hi, I'm Paolo Pong, Chairman of Ocean Park Hong Kong. I can't wait to show you our 3 generations of pandas in 2025.
Join me, Larry Madowo, as I introduce you to Africa's trendsetters. See how they use their talent, resources, and passion to make a difference on the continent. This is African Voices Changemakers.
For 15 years, we've heard from Africa's boldest voices and changemakers who are moving Africa forward.
I think we'll shift the world. I think that this continent will move.
African Voices Changemakers on CNN. Connections across Africa are reshaping business, creating opportunities like never before. On Connecting Africa, follow the network of deals, smart conversations, and people transforming business to bring the continent together.
This month, connecting Africa through fashion.
Every single African designer has a story to tell. That's what makes us different.
Connecting Africa, only on CNN, in association with Afrexim Bank.
CNN World Sport. Non-stop action year-round.
I have a lot of things to give to the football.
All the major events.
I love where the game is going right now.
What does it take for me to be even better?
And tournaments.
The emotions sometimes are impossible to control.
The latest highlights.
Women's sport is having a moment that it should have always had.
And exclusive interviews with your favorite coaches and players.
We're going to keep this thing rolling.
You rock. Don't miss.
CNN World Sport, only on CNN.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. My name is Raza Jaffer, and I'm the founder of Global Sustainability Network and currently based in Dubai. GSN was founded in 2015 with myself, Bishop Sanchez from the Vatican, and Lord Bishop Alistair Redfern from Church of England. GSN was founded to help support heroes who are working around the world to fight modern-day slavery. And we've got a huge task ahead of us as a commitment signed by 193 countries to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So our purpose is actually to support organizations who are our heroes in ending modern-day slavery.
I'm Nick Robertson in London, and this is CNN.
And we continue to follow this breaking news out of New Orleans, this tragic news that 10 people have been killed, dozens other injured after a car drove through a crowd in New Orleans' Bourbon Street. Of course, the popular destination packed with people overnight during the New Year's Eve festivities. The governor of Louisiana tweeting just a little while ago, a horrific act of violence took place on Bourbon Street earlier this morning. Please join Shannon and I in praying for all the victims and first responders on scene. I urge all near the scene to avoid the area. That's Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry. We've been looking at these images all morning, just of a tremendous police response to this mass casualty incident. I want to go, though, now to the scene in New Orleans. We have CNN affiliate WDSU's Fletcher Mackel with a report.
No, and we showed you some images. We were on Bourbon Street on the corner of Bourbon and Orleans, and we were moved to Dauphine about a block away because we were by a state police trooper who noticed what he felt like was a suspicious package. So they moved the perimeter back at least a block because they are being vigilant and hypersensitive because of what was just detailed by the police superintendent and law enforcement officials, and they certainly want to prevent any type of second attack as well. And right now, most of the streets here in the French Quarter are still blocked. There's a lot lot of people just waking up and finding out what's happening, coming to work this morning and not being able to get into the French Quarter. I'm also going to step out of the way right now because this is one of those really eerie, sad situations. You're looking at maybe the most iconic structure in the city of New Orleans, the St. Louis Cathedral, and as photojournalist Stefan Cage zooms out, you see police cruisers. You know, this is supposed to be a festive time, ringing in the new year, a fresh start, everybody having fun, enjoying the Sugar Bowl between Georgia and Notre Dame tonight, getting ready for the biggest event that our city's going to host in a long time, Super Bowl 59, and instead we're talking about tragedy and chaos. And so again, our beautiful city dealing with chaos once again as law.
And we'll have much more on this developing story in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break and then tell you what you need to know about the situation in New Orleans.
All new Inside Africa. See a continent in transformation as trailblazers evolve culture, technology, and industry across Africa and beyond. Explore the flavors of Senegal as chefs use food to foster community, tradition, and growth.
My grand-mère, my grandmother, my mother, following them into the kitchen, it has always inspired me.
Inside Africa on CNN in association with Zenith Bank.
Here we come.
This world has more secrets than we could possibly imagine.
You might want to buckle up. We fight for our queen! Who will join me?
CNN celebrates 15 years of African Voices. A look back at some of the most memorable moments.
Be strong for everybody. The support I got from people helped me stand up again.
The biggest African entertainers.
It's very possible for your dream to be valid.
And most inspirational African athletes.
There's so much talent in Africa.
Champions of Africa's diverse talent and culture.
In whatever space I find myself, I want people to see me and be happy.
This is African Voices Changemakers.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Happiness could lead to living longer. You want to know how? On my podcast, Chasing Life, I'm uncovering the secrets of people around the world who are living happy, healthy, extraordinary lives. Hear how they do it and the science behind why it works. Join me as I reveal their secrets and discover how we can chase life together. Listen to Chasing Life with me, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, wherever you get your podcasts.
Russian lines are just 1 kilometer from here.
This is just one of the latest buildings struck by Israel here in the southern suburbs of Beirut.
This is our town, insists Galina. We're staying here. We know our soldiers are protecting us. In the end, a child is a child, says Nadra. The mother of a child is a mother, whether she's Israeli or Palestinian.
안녕하세요. 고도콘스트 코쿤입니다. 2024년이 벌써 지나가고 25년이 코앞으로 다가왔는데 새해에는 사랑하는 가족들, 친구들, 또 고양이, 강아지들과 행복한 시간 많이 보내시고 좀 더 웃음이 가득한 그런 한 해가 됐으면 좋겠습니다. 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Good morning, I'm Danny Freeman in New York. It is the first of the year, and we continue to follow breaking news out of New Orleans. 10 people are dead, at least 35 others injured after a car drove into a crowd in the French Quarter. We have some of the radio chatter right after this happened. I want you to take a listen to how it all sounded as it unfolded.
Communications to engine 29 and all units heading towards Canal and Bourbon. We're going to move to Fireground 2. We're responding to a mass casualty incident. A vehicle ran through a crowd of people. There's multiple injuries, multiple casualties. They need you at Canal and Bourbon.
So again, as you heard right there, emergency officials saying it happened overnight near Canal and Bourbon Street. The mayor of New Orleans calling this a terrorist attack, though the FBI then said it was not a terrorist incident. Police say the suspect drove around barricades to get to Bourbon Street. They said he was hell-bent on creating carnage and even fired on police, shooting and injuring 2 officers. We have a whole panel of folks who are here to digest and dissect what we have been covering over the course of this New Year's Day morning. You can see Andrew McCabe, Jean Cazares, Juliet Kayyem, and Ryan Young. But before we go to this panel, I want you to take a listen to the update that local officials just gave within the last hour.
First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still under investigation. You'll hear more after me. However, I have been in direct contact with the White House, with Governor Landry, and of course a unified command who is present here. What I'm asking at this time are prayers for those who have lost their lives in the city of New Orleans due to this tragedy. In addition to that, I'm asking the public to stay clear of 8 blocks around Bourbon Street. Stay clear from Bourbon Street, 8 blocks around. Very active, and again, a unified command is in place right now. I'm going to ask Chief Kirkpatrick to give you an update. You're then going to hear from our agent in charge relative to the FBI. So at this time, Chief Kirkpatrick.
Thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to give you as much of the information I possibly can. We are going to give you an update a couple of times today. So we will give you just the basics this morning, all right? We had this event started at about 3:15. It did involve a man driving a pickup truck down Bourbon Street at a very fast pace, and it was very intentional behavior. This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. It was not a DUI situation. This is a more complex and more serious based on the information we have right now. With respect to numbers, we have right now, and as you already know, this could change throughout the day. We do know that there are 26 injured people who are at UMC Hospital. We know we have 4 at Turo, 4 at Oshner Baptist, 1 at Tulane, but even as I was walking out the door, I believe I have an unconfirmed additional people who have been taken to other area hospitals, possibly on the east side. But we will give you as many correct numbers as we can as the day progresses. It is a very tragic situation for me to tell you that we know we have 10 people that this man killed on Bourbon Street. That is why we do not want anyone on Bourbon Street today. Wherever you see yellow tape, please do not violate this tape. This is in order to protect and stabilize the scene. We have information to a certain degree of the demographics of those who are in the hospital right now. We do not know at this point how many could be tourists versus locals, but from the information I have right now, it seems the majority are locals versus tourists. What I also can tell you is that this man, this perpetrator, he fired on our officers from his vehicle when he crashed his vehicle. 2 of our officers have been shot. They are stable. and we will give you an update on them. I have yet been able to go to the hospital. I will be leaving here for us to go visit our officers. We have called in every officer that we have. We have so much appreciated our partnerships who have also offered us staff. Last night, we had over 300 officers out here. And because of the intentional mindset of this perpetrator who went around our barricades in order to conduct this, he was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did. Because of the nature and the indices that we have on the scene, and we have enough information that the FBI will be taking over this investigation.